Robert Kiyosaki recently keynoted our sold-out live event, Nomad Capitalist Live, and he had some words of wisdom for anyone who wants to leave the United States or whatever country you're from, or who may think that you need to leave in the future and you'll want to be prepared. I'm going to share with you his 2 words of wisdom right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, the author of this book, available on Amazon, and the founder of Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. More at nomadcapitalist.com. So let's talk about Robert Kiyosaki. He was at Nomad Capitalist Live, got a great review from the audience, and he shared a couple of things. The first thing he talked about was his work with some notable economists on the Greater Depression, the idea that you're going to see a Greater Depression than what you've seen before coming up. Now, I'm not going to focus so much on that because he and I, as entrepreneurs, or as he says, as capitalists, he said that Rich Dad Poor Dad was about a capitalist versus a Marxist. He and I are capitalists. We create our own assets. We go where we're treated best. And so there will always be opportunities. And so while the Greater Depression is important to be aware of, if you believe that, I don't want to focus so much on that today. But what I want to focus on is his idea that as things get worse, whether it's because of a Greater Depression, whether it's because what we talk about, cultural fabric is eroding in the Western world. Some places you are almost on the verge of a civil war. You have people at each other's throats. You have more chaos than you've ever seen in your life in many cases. And so you need to have a place to be ready to go. He said he personally will not be leaving the United States, but some of his assets did, whether it's precious metals or other assets. Those are distributed around the world the way that we talk about. And so what his advice was very simple. 3 days. Where can you go when things fall apart in 3 days? Now, there's so many different ways that things could fall apart. Again, it could be the fallout of a depression or a greater recession. He talked about spending time in the military and what they learned there and what he's learned since then. It doesn't take very long for people to turn on each other. I remember back during the Iraq War, making a comment to someone where people were saying, we want the Iraqis to be happy, let's have a nice thing, let's give them democracy. I said, if gas goes to $5 or $6 a gallon, you won't be so concerned about the Iraqis being happy. You'll be concerned that you can't take your summer vacation. You'll say, do whatever has to be done. I think that's how human beings think, especially when there's the other, right? Someone's far away, or even, people in your own town, I think could easily turn on each other. So it could be related to that. It could just be related to ongoing cultural strife where you've got the government, which right now is basically liberal politicians in the U.S. and other Western countries are basically shaming businesses into doing certain things. You can't step out of line. If some of this stuff continues, you're going to want someplace to go. Perhaps for personal reasons, personal safety reasons, personal freedom reasons, as well as for the financial reasons that we often talk about. So the advice is 3 days. And what stands out to me about this advice is, what we've talked about before. So many people want to talk about, I'll leave when things get bad enough. Now he's saying, hey, okay, wait until things get bad enough. Again, not entirely in agreement on that, but I think his point is, have it ready to go. My point is, moving overseas, diversifying overseas, it's not so bad. In fact, one thing we talked about at the conference was run to something, not from something. Okay? Find a place that's better and go there because you love it, and go there because, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine there was so much freedom. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that tax rates can be so low. Go to the place where people are nicer. Go to that place now. If you want to wait, then take his advice of 3 days. And what he's saying is, if your infrastructure in place, if you have precious metals, and I think you probably should have some, where are they stored? If they're stored in Denver, Colorado, and you are living in the United States, you're not protected, right? You could probably say that if they're stored in Vancouver, they're probably not protected. You need some distance between it, okay? Start to set up multiple bases for assets. If you're in crypto, you're keeping your crypto offline, why not consider putting it somewhere where you don't have to travel with it when times get tough? Okay, fine, it's pretty small, no problem. Why not put some of it distributed around in not a bank safe deposit box, but in some kind of vault somewhere, right? Why not start to move your company overseas, move your employees overseas, diversify your employees, right? We have an office in Armenia, and last year, for 1 or 2 days, people were on the ball but there were a few minor disruptions. Fortunately, it didn't last longer, but there may be places where, you've seen during the Arab Spring, for example, that the internet goes out for God knows how long, right? You want to be protected. You want to be able to keep running your business. You want to have somewhere you can go. And he's saying have that infrastructure in place now. What I think so many people often do is they wait until everything's totally collapsing, and then they're like, well, what are we going to do now? Have the infrastructure in place. We've talked about second residences, what I called at the conference an agnostic second residence or second citizenship, where it doesn't really change your life or change your financial position in any way, because you may not need to live in that country, or you may not even need to go that often, but you have a place to go if need be. Dubai is one example of a place that's not a bad place to start a company. It's a bit more expensive than some of the alternatives, but it's a place where you can get residence by having a company. You need to go basically about 3 days a year if you average it out. Okay? And so if you're willing to pop in every once in a while, you can keep that in your back pocket. It's not going to be a tax issue for you because they don't have tax, and it's not, even if you're not living there, it's not going to be a problem. But you're able just to keep that in your back pocket and save it as part of your infrastructure for later. Okay? So there's a financial aspect and there's a personal aspect, freedom, safety, etc. And so I think that the great advice from Robert Kiyosaki was have the infrastructure in place. Now, he had some great things to say about our audience. He said one of the best audiences I've seen in multiple years. I mean, so it was really a great credit to you, the audience. But what are you getting in place? And so I'd rather be overseas now. If you want to wait, if you enjoy where you're living, if you don't think it can get any better, I would encourage you to consider that there could be better places out there that you might enjoy more, that life can get better, that the sense of personal freedom in day-to-day life is going to be better somewhere else. But where can you go in 3 days? He says, bags packed, you're on the plane, and you're on the ground, everything ready to go. You're not there fumbling, looking for, hey, how do I get a bank account here to pay my bills? How do I get my debit card to work? Because the one where I'm from, it's frozen. They turn it off. The ATMs don't work, whatever. Where can you go? Where can you get? Now, he talked about, hey, it would be nice to have a jet. Hey, wouldn't it be nice for everyone to have a jet, right? So you may not be able to have a jet, but how can you get somewhere in 3 days? That's the message. I would always say the sooner the better. Right? Better a year's too early than a couple days too late. But if you want to push it as far as you can, 3 days. That's Robert Kiyosaki's metric. Make sure you have your infrastructure in place. Make sure you can get somewhere else with your money, with your safety, with your freedom in 3 days. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.